I think these comments have been spot on, and especially Dara's last comment about sometimes it's worse to enter a community and then leave than to never have gone there in the first place. When we were expanding into a really tough neighborhood in Washington, I did a lot of listening and interviews, and one of the residents explained to me that their neighborhood was the land of broken promises. And I wanted to make sure that higher achievement would never break our promise to that neighborhood. And we haven't. We've been there for the long term. So a few things I wanted to just add to the conversation. First is that as we've evolved our strategy, we want to make sure that we are not pushing higher achievement into a community, but we are being pulled. And we do have that demand that is pulling us into new communities, into new schools, into new cities. And we want to make sure that we're tapping into that demand in the marketplace. So we've made a few tweaks to our program model in order to make sure that it's meeting the needs of schools, which actually opens up a new revenue stream for us. School-based funding, as well as corporate sponsorships at the site-based level that are really powerful, mutually beneficial cycle for volunteerism and branding, as well as longer-term financial sustainability for higher achievement. As we open new centers and new cities, we also strive to have 2 years of funding up front before our board votes on that expansion. And so while it's never perfect, as Dara points out, the formulas often vary, that we really do strive to have those commitments up front before we would expand, so we would not break promises. And often it's 3 years. I think the last two things I'll share are two key tools that we developed over the last couple of years that have helped us with sustainability and program effectiveness. The first is a real performance dashboard that directly plugs into our finance system and our program management system, our data program outcomes. And it allows that data to get linked and to be available and fully transparent to our frontline staff. So we are looking at cost per scholar on a monthly and quarterly basis at the frontline staff level, so that our staff members can see, when their scholars don't sign for their meals at night, we're actually leaking revenue opportunity there. Very specific things that we can titrate to make sure that we are fully maximizing our efficiency. It also gets to the question of how our staffing model differs across centers. It's raised really key questions internally and has prompted a real resurgence of excitement around using data to drive outcomes, not only grade and test score and attendance improvement, which was always available and used at our program level, but also the financial data, which was previously fairly opaque to the frontline program staff, but was mainly managed by finance and executive directors and development staff. So being able to open that up to everyone and have really structured conversations on monthly and quarterly intervals has really transformed our culture, and I think actually allowed staff the opportunity to grow professionally. The second and final tool that I'll share is a really clear reserve fund policy. It probably sounds fairly prosaic, but it was essential for our organization to establish a really clear board designated reserve fund that lined up the incentives for our cities to raise more than their annual operating costs to contribute to that reserve, and be able to know that portions of what they've raised in each city would be available in the future, and then another portion of it will be available. More detailed questions on that, but it is a very important sort of behind the scenes tool that is essential for our sustainability.